I'm David Gregory with our Meet the Press Take Two Web Extra, and we're joined again by Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Steele. Chairman Steele, this is great. I can ask you a few more questions that we didn't get to in the course of the program. I'm out here in California. It's good of you to be with me, and I want to talk about this new book. Here it is, right now, a 12-step program for defeating the Obama agenda. Define the choice for people between Democrats and Republicans in this election year.
I think it boils down to this, an administration and a government with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid that looks at the redistribution of wealth as a means to growing the economy. Versus Republicans who philosophically believe in the creation of wealth through small businesses and enterprises that have the capacity and the wherewithal to not only hire someone but then expand opportunity. And I think that's what it's been about, David, from the very beginning of this administration's term. They came in talking about health care when people were hemorrhaging and losing jobs. They came in talking about national security when people were losing jobs. And to address that, they said, well, let's just spend $787 billion and then that'll fix it. The unemployment rate will stabilize at 8%. Well, we're at 10, and it's now being projected to go to 10.8. So this boils down to the pocketbooks of the American people, and you're seeing in New Jersey and Virginia last year, it had an effect on the elections, and I think it'll have an effect this year.
When you talk about, as you did today, earlier in the week you said you didn't think that Republicans could retake control of Congress. This morning you say you believe they can. Bill Clinton, in an interview I did with him last fall, talked about the chances for Republicans and Democrats going into this election year. Here was the question I asked him. Do you worry about a repeat of '94 politically?
There's no way they can make it that bad for several reasons. Number one, the country is more diverse and more interested in positive action. Number two, they've seen this movie before because they had 8 years under President Bush when the Republicans finally had the whole government, and they know the results were bad.
One of the things he's alluding to, you talk about all this spending, stimulus spending, that all began under your president, under President Bush.
Yeah, and that's why you saw the losses in 06 and 08 and the frustration, the flight of conservatives from the party and the growth of Tea Parties and a whole lot of things that have happened since we've walked away from those core principles of limited government, fiscal management, very little or no spending, low taxation. These things have an impact. And I want to be clear about, the statement, those three words, not this fall. Went on to say later in that I was trying to get the point made that if we don't stand true to those principles, then the voters won't give us the opportunity to take back the Congress. But as we move towards those principles, as we saw in 2009 in Virginia, New Jersey, as we're seeing now in Massachusetts with the Senate race for Ted Kennedy's seat, where the Republican candidate is doing very well because he's talking common sense to the people there, we will win. We will be strong. And I'm excited about that opportunity. Look, I'm the chairman of the party. I'm the biggest cheerleader on the block. But I'm also a realist. And I want to make sure that we're well prepared, well funded, and ready to rock and roll, and I think we are.
How do you grade President Obama on his first year?
I gave him a C, and I gave him a C for the simple reason that the president came in with a lot of fanfare and a lot of hope in front of him. And what we got instead was same old, same old. It's the same old Washington bureaucracy that's larding up budgets with countless amount of pork barrel projects. It's the same old Washington that's doing the backroom deals, not with the transparency. This president was caught on tape saying 8 different times that C-SPAN and other networks would be right there watching this thing unfold. All of that has had an impact on the president's ability to be credible with the American people. And then, of course, they're looking at the spending. My goodness, when you spend money we don't have, it causes real concern for people because they don't do that in their daily lives, and they can't afford to have their federal government do it.
Let's talk about what the Republican Party stands for. I was interested in your book, Right Now, a 12-step program for defeating the Obama agenda. You write at one point that within our own party, we need to make it clear that from now on, there will be a price to pay for abandoning conservative principles. And yet, when I spoke to Governor Schwarzenegger out here, he said something very different. He said, look, to be a leader in the Republican Party is to serve the people, not the party. That's what's most important, to get away from politics. So based on your formulation, Is Arnold Schwarzenegger a true Republican?
No, no. The reality of it is, it's right. It is to serve the people, and you are to reflect for those people the values and the principles of that community. And for the party, we have laid out very clearly in our platform, and as we saw in the during the Reagan years, in terms of how we would approach certain policies, what those principles are. So when you go to Congress or you go to your state capital and you spend without any regard to the cost to the taxpayers and small business, when you grow the size of government, increases burden on the community, that goes counter to a fundamental principle that the party is held on to.
So in your mind, Governor Schwarzenegger is a true conservative?
I don't know whether Governor Schwarzenegger is a true conservative or not. I don't get to make that judgment. The people of California do, and the people
but you're
the Republican
defining
Party
conservative
do.
principles here.
No. What we do is we lay out the baseline. This is what we believe. That's what party platforms do.
Right, but I'm just asking, is he consistent with your beliefs of what the Republican Party should be?
But David, the people of California get to judge that. Republicans in a Republican primary get to judge that. And where you see that go off the rails, for example, in New York 23, when small political leaders, in a back room in a corner make the decision, you have a problem. When you take that choice away from the people, in a primary, for example, you're moving away from another principle, which is let the people decide. That's what elections are all about. I don't get to make those decisions.
My question is whether Governor Schwarzenegger, in your mind, is consistent with your vision of the Republican Party. Yes, no, or maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what the governor's been doing out there in terms of...
You're chairman of the party. You don't know what the governor of the biggest state in the country is doing?
David, stop. You're not going to trap me in this, David. Stop it. I'm not going to go down this road. The reality of it is what I said, that Governor Schwarzenegger, like Governor Jindal, like Governor Barber, like many of the governors in this country, they represent the people of their state. The people of their state in a Republican primary, for example, will decide whether or not this is the individual that best represents those values and principles. What the National Party does is lay out this is generally what we believe and how we want to proceed going into the future. You take those things and you apply them, as we saw in New Jersey and in Virginia this past year, where they took principles that were true to them, applied them to transportation, health care, and they won elections. And that's what the bottom line is all about.
Let me ask you this. What is, in your view, the leading edge of the party, the leading edge of conservatism? Is it Sarah Palin? Is it the Tea Party movement? Is it a Governor Christ? Is it a Governor Schwarzenegger? What's on that leading edge to your mind?
I think the leading edge of the Republican Party is our grassroots. This is really about getting back to some common sense principles that have defined us for generations. I dedicate this book, in fact, to every man, woman, and child who's ever licked a stamped or stuffed an envelope, for a Republican candidate or a Republican issue. The reality of it is, when we lost faith with our base, when we lost faith with those who wanted to be a part of who we are and what we were trying to do, we lost elections. And so now we need to regain that momentum with the people, that faith with the people, to move ahead. And that really is the leading edge for us, taking those principles, David, and putting them out front, leading with those principles of lower government, less taxes, smaller, role for government in life, and see what happens. I think good things will happen.
You said on the program today there's a sour political mood in the country. I don't think anybody would dispute that. But do you think this is 1994 or something different?
That's a good question, and the dynamics are different than 1994 in a number of ways. I think Bill Clinton was right that the population has changed. It's diverse in regions of the country where it wasn't before. There's more political involvement, certainly by our young people, thank goodness, than we had maybe in 1994. So the dynamics have shifted quite a bit. And I don't play this as, we played it before. I try to recognize that behind me and around me, and certainly in front of me, is a new dynamic, and the party's got to be ready to set into that dynamic and lead. And if we're not, then we'll get left by the road. And right now, as we can see, we're building momentum towards leading again, and I'm excited about that.
And despite the criticism you've received of late and over the course of your tenure,
yep.
Is it your commitment that you're staying in the job, you won't step down?
Oh, absolutely. My goodness, why should I? I'm out here pushing the envelope. Yeah, it's uncomfortable for some folks, I know, and I get hot-headed at times because I'm passionate about this. I know what we can do. I know what our principles are and how important they are in the battle ahead, particularly when you're looking at the difference between redistributing wealth and creating wealth. creating opportunity and putting government footprints on that opportunity. So I'm excited about it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to help the party win. We've done a great job in raising money, $80 million, 370,000 new donors to the party. We've got candidates that are out there ready to rock and roll. So it's a good time. It's almost cool again to be a Republican. We got a little bit more to do, but we're working on that. And I think we're going to find this fall that we're going to be in a good position.
Chairman Steele, always good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Dave.